guys, it's Liam here again, and in this video I'm going to be going back to handheld console territory again. Now I've already done a versus video between the Nintendo Game Boy and Game Gear. I may revisit them in a bit more detail one day, but for now I'm going to go for the third wheel of the handheld consoles of its day, the Atari Lynx, which is this bad boy here. So we'll show you this in a bit more detail now. Okay, here we go. Okay guys, so this is the Atari Lynx, which is Atari's first and to date last attempt at a handheld video game system. There was an Atari electronic handheld game that was released prior to this called Atari's Touch Me, which is just a handheld version of Simon Says, where different lights light up in different sequences and you have to remember the sequence they light up in. But anyway, I'm digressing there. So back to the Atari Lynx. So yes, this was their first and last attempt at a handheld video game system. Now it was released on or around the same time as the Nintendo Game Boy in 1989 and slightly before the Sega Game Gear. Now it was the first handheld games console in colour, because the Game Boy of course was in black and white or yellow and green or whatever colour you want to call that. But yes, this was their first attempt and last attempt at it. Now the first thing you'll probably notice is the Atari Lynx itself. It's really quite big for what you'd call a handheld games console, and I will just give you a comparison to the Nintendo Game Boy just so that you can see the difference. So yes, it's a lot bigger than the Game Boy, and here's the Game Gear, because we like to have a comparison of everything together. Okay, so the Game Gear obviously was bigger than the Game Boy, but the Atari Lynx was bigger than all of them. Now there was a redesigned model that came out slightly later called the Lynx 2, which it basically looked exactly the same as the Lynx, more or less. It was just a more squashed in version, so it's like if you press it in, compact it a bit further, and that was the Lynx 2. But apart from that, there was no differences whatsoever. Now the Atari Lynx really was a good system, and there were a lot of good games available for it, but it just came out at a time when Nintendo was starting to become the superpower, I suppose you could say, of video games. And Atari was on its way out, unfortunately. It had its day in the 70s and the 80s, and it was starting to flag, and Nintendo was starting to come in. Now I will show you though what some of the games look like, but first of all, here's a couple of the Atari Lynx adverts. See what you think.
Hey, Mr. Block, can I go to the bathroom?
2 minutes.
Introducing Lynx from Atari, the color video game you can get away with. Well, sometimes.
You gonna buy the same old Game Boy?
Atari Lynx, the portable video arcade. With the biggest screen for full color attraction, stereo sound and 16-bit action, and more games for total satisfaction. Lynx will blow you away. Lynx, more fun and games from Atari.
Okay, so that was the Atari Lynx advert, or a couple of them. But I don't know if anybody else noticed, but I sure did. But the lad who sat down in the bathroom got the Lynx out of his bag, and the second he started playing it, all of a sudden it was plugged in. It had the AC adapter lead coming out of the top. But that's adverts for you. Anyway, moving on. This is what an Atari Lynx game actually looks like. This is just one of them. I will show you some of the game footage in a moment, but that's just what one of the games look like. Comparing it to Game Gear game. Let's move the Lynx out of the way for a moment. And then your Game Boy game. Now, they're more or less the same size, but even though the Atari Lynx was a much bigger handheld system, the games themselves, even though they look more or less the same size, the games themselves were a lot thinner. I'll show you that now if you compare them together. There. If you just look at the thinness of that game compared to these, I mean, I know it doesn't really matter too much that these are a bit thicker, but it's an incredibly thin game when you compare it. But there we go, that's some of the games. Now I'll show you the system itself and just give you a bit more detail on it. Here we are. Right, okay, so let's have a little bit more of a look at the Atari Lynx itself. So on the front here, as you can see, you've got your speaker, and you've got your BA button at the top and BA buttons at the bottom as well. Options, option 1, restart, flip, option 2, on and off, and your D-pad. Now the reason why there's a button that says flip, just before I show you the rest of the console, is because some games, not loads, but some games you would actually hold the system like this, rather than, you know, with hands like that, you would hold it in a different way, so it would flip the screen. Anyway, moving on. So at the top there, you know, you've got your power button, you've got your headphones, your volume switch, and at the bottom you've got your brightness as well. Now let's have a look at the back. Now on the back of the system, see where mine's a little bit worn, you've got your batteries in here. One other thing which made the system, I think, a bit less successful in the Game Boy and the Game Gear as well, is that the Game Boy didn't take anywhere near as many batteries, or neither did the Game Gear in fact, as the Atari Lynx. This took 6 AA batteries and it wore them out and killed them off a lot faster than the Game Boy or Game Gear did as well. So you needed more batteries and they didn't last as long. So that's unfortunate. And in here, let's have another little look here. Don't know if you can see there. Okay, in here is where your game would go. So you put it in like this, pop it in, push it down, close, and pop it back down. I'm going to move the camera a little bit closer now, just so that you can see the screen a little better, and hopefully show you some games. Well, show you this game at least. There we go, the volume. Hope you can see the screen there. Anyway. Let's go a bit closer up. I think that'd be best. There we are. Now you can pretty much see what I can see. This is Rygar, an action-adventure game. It's pretty shit, but it's not too hard. At least this level isn't. There you go, you bastard. Right, let's try another game. California Games. This was on many a console, including Atari. Let's have a look. Yeah, BMX. Wow, back in my day I thought these graphics were the shit. Now they are just shit. Oh, fuck. Try that again.
This is exactly how I travel to work every morning. And that's exactly how I get there. Try again. Hey, there we go. Let's have a look. That's meant to be a girl in a bikini. Can't you tell? Okay, let's try some surfing. There we go. Let's pretend this is Cornwall. Get in. Oh yes. Anyway, moving on. Let's check out one of my favourites, Double Dragon. I don't know why, but I'm fond of that scene. It's very iconic in this game. That's it. Beat the shit out of the guys, rescue the girl. Good old Billy and Jimmy Lee. Anyway, this is just a few of the Atari Lynx games that are available for this system. That's it. Anyway, we'll move on.
Okay guys, so that was the Atari Lynx. I may cover the Atari Lynx 2 in a future video, but I don't know, it's not too different really, or in fact different enough to maybe warrant its own video, but I might include it in maybe the accessories video or something, I don't know. But anyway, if you can get yourself one of these and you like collecting your old-fashioned video game consoles, definitely worth picking up. Also, if you can pick up its own little bag, then, you know, by all means pick that up as well. Okay, and if you like the videos, please support the show by rating these videos and even subscribing by clicking there. Okay, take care then guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.